JB, I think that education is very, very key and very fundamental so far as our progress is concerned as a country. Because there be a cancer or might be advanced here. It depends how we train and mold the young generation. Because we always say, "I want to inherit the future." There be a if you mess up today, there will be no tomorrow for people to inherit. So the journey to future now it beginning today.
Yeah, sure.
And that is why it is very, very imperative. Say in our education way, always the conversation has always been. It's good so too for on one hour babon can be. And you see over the years, this is the conversation. Some of us TC Kruma na ya can. Ebia penimfo do mano to mu ntema ebia nka ye ne ha say. But it's good say ne ekwamo bia obi can be, and I think that's very, very important. As some na can ya sema I said the same thing. My kind of happen said free SHS policy no one of the best policies because of the poverty situation in this part of the world. But you see, when you are rolling out a policy, you don't roll it out as a political reparation package. Without any thought. Policy you look at problems. You tease out the problem and you look at the possible solution. Then you weave your policy addressing those challenges. The free SHS policy was just rolled out because you can't say you're promising a diaba without even engaging the critical stakeholders in the educational sector. A teacher for people who are institutions when it comes to education. These people were bypassed and are buying to then a pay as you go. There be a sort of problem, no problem. There are a lot of discussion across Okroma. Some of us even said, Ghana, and you'll be quite here free SHS. There are people who can pay and even pay for extra.
Yeah.
Me, I'm convinced that you see some of these multinational companies like MTN and Co. Musika Munyan Okroma. I know they take all their money away. Since they sponsor I am Mao Mujina TV so for them. How can't we get this institution to use part of their money to sponsor education in as for them?
We go elsewhere, somewhere like Sweden and the likes. Ukoye PhD. Yeah, companies are hold almost sponsor my PhD because it's a research based.
Yes, these are multinational companies. No, and as a company is all around, there are no proper regulation until they will prefer to sponsor TV. So they are to seek a boom, but education and your priority for government. And also you cannot begrudge them because it will be up a profit. Then as for they will do some of these things. And free SHS, now one major problem is how I want to say. The secure source of funding, but fortunately, because uncapping your friends get fund is freeing 4.1 billion Ghana cedis. And the free SHS budget for a year is 3.5. So it means every year, you are very much assured the get fund will generate. So it's a secure source of funding. And the argument is we are maybe obia and I say man phone and there be some way because government has been able to make proper allocation. I very guaranteed.
No,
and
but
secured.
The issue is that infrastructure wise,
yes,
yes. To see the Ukraine run a double track system.
Yes.
Me no kasi binum tifi. January 28.
Yes.
So now I'm tifi. Maybe school somewhere around May.
Yes.
I mean, within that long period of time, how do you expect Accra to cope and the parents to cope with that situation? And
then they bring into the fold the reforms now you can have no. The mere fact is Ikaya available. I think we need to look at the President Mahama can say about reform. I think we need to reform the free SHS policy. Now you're making sure that much investment will go into infrastructure because this idea of a man for going to school one month or better that kind of way, it disrupted the whole educational chain. Emma and Krano be disrupted. And again, JB, there is something among from being course. Free SHS, the very moment you open the doors, free intake will increase.
Yeah.
The number of people will come. But school in Ghana and terminate at secondary school level. It means there will be further advances to the next stage.
Exactly.
And it's a free SHS, and that's a one see tertiary. When you share, because tertiary and so. And I young Koro sorry them. You call our tertiary institution. So expanding the base by making it free by man for air you should also be thinking about expanding various tertiary institutions.
Yes.
Legona, for instance, the last time I was there, a place accommodation growing a bit. And I be a porter no Legono. Me say it's me freezy the whole day. Konipo mugusuno.
Na Legon to me. Graduate over 17,000 students.
Yes.
Within a day.
Yes.
The following day, no master graduated about 5,000 or 10,000 students. So we now everybody.
So actually say infrastructural deficit in this educational institution, because you cannot weave SHS policy without having in mind what happens at the tertiary. That's how you're myopic. You know what I say? Because they stream together. And I think that over the years, these are the mistakes, sir. Of course, why you can't say if there is a way a bit way just to free fund, for instance, and there is a guaranteed source of funding to finance the free SHS policy, which is 3.5 billion, fine. But what about the infrastructure deficit? What about Ukraino Mugumna and Omunko classroom? How do we attend? And again, Ukraino Mubanino movie school no bar. What are the opportunities for them to do? You understand?
In terms of the job market.
We are just training people without even looking at how do we even work on our curriculum in such a way that the gap between academia and the job market will be bridged in such a way that people come out of Legon or come into your fancy job market and they will gel. And the amount for national service, credit because they know these people are not fit because of that gap. But I'm telling you, average Ghanaian or more university, they are very knowledgeable and very intelligent young people. Sure. We need to bridge that particular gap. Sabaya and Krano fits in. You go to corporations and other big entities. People who are due for retirement, do you know what they do? They give them contract, they stay. They are staying at the expense of young ones who are supposed to come in. You understand? Sure. And we cannot go that particular line. So I think the whole educational system, just like I make about police, we need to retool. The focus cannot just be on free SHS. Maybe major concern of education is even the primary level. Yebi, say ya wa kra mane ba wiase ni ti no hwi ni bo. The ebeko ni mu the orientation na onya. What be say at the kindergarten and the primary school level, the kind of teaching ekoho. So we end up breeding vagabonds at the early stage because exposure akwa no benya no. Nipa no ogina ho kire na there maybe ono ni suban kra no anger ne those kind of way exposing the kid at that early stage to some of these things, will destroy the child forever. Yeah. So I think at the molding stage at the early school, if you go abroad, they spend much time and make sure people who are teaching kids are very intelligent. Psychologically, you are up there. And because it comes with psychological development of these kids. Whether they will become criminals or not, it will depend on the foundational way of being. But you think we don't mold people when they grow up. We mold them when they are young. So you see the whole educational change, I think that we need to sit down. Do away with decouple politics from the discussion.
But I think that there's a commission and I say
yes, and I think that they will come out with a lot of reforms.
Yes,
and I'm sure that reforms, must begin with the early stage to the top. Because university crowd say
and can you imagine so be in a master's degree or that's your multiple choice questions? I mean how? And
that is up to them to decide. But remember they say my focus has to do with how you betimi modu a training a man for na you bridge the gap between job market. Ade ba kwen China advance and say they make sure education a trainee job that are available on the job market. So transition is easy. If you go to America, there are people in big schools some of the big corporations, they can just transit because they know whatever they are learning or direct linkage with what is here. But yet that is not the case. People go to university, they learn certain things which can never even be found here. We can argue they can travel outside, but how many of them any opportunity to travel? Because the whole essence of education within your jurisdiction must gear towards preparing the next generation, the next workforce. But the question is, how are we preparing them? So I think the focus on the free SHS alone will be narrow. We need to expand the discussion and look at the entire educational chain. Let me say, from the early stage to the university, how do we infuse some kind of way into the education? Serve the need of, for instance, and my culture say it's very competitive at the global stage. Obeti China at the early stage, ocean computer, what head rab, control if you board so. Can you compete such people at the job market? Because apply for job at Amazon. Apply for job at Walmart on the internet everywhere. Now I ocean computer at the early stage, what it baby draw control anywhere or board so. Can you ever compete with that person?
Not at
so
all.
I think we need to redefine this whole educational concept and make sure we are training indeed future generation.
All right.
And just say we just doing politics.
Let's have a hope for the last